Hello, good morning, friends, and welcome to another edition of Sunday Brunch right here on Love Wrestling. It is always appreciated among the myriad of content out there in the world that you guys choose to spend your Sunday mornings, evenings, and in your case, Sandy, evenings with us here on Love Wrestling. As always, we're here to have a loose chat about the world of professional wrestling, then, now, and forever, to steal a phrase from a pretty famous professional wrestling company out there. But before we do that, we want to give a quick shout out to RK Athletics, of course, the official sponsor of all the live content here on Love Wrestling. As the world's starting to open up here in Alberta, make sure you take advantage of the personal one-on-one training that he's got. Or if you ain't based in Alberta, make sure you head to RK Athletics 1 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And make sure you take advantage of all of the great online content that he's got there as well. JJ, great to see you as well, friend. Welcome and good morning here. Happy 4th of July to any of our American friends that are tuned in. And of course, everybody around the world, wherever you may be based. We hope it is a great July 4th for everyone. And Joe, know you got your second dose yesterday, not here on Sunday Brunch, but joining us in the comments. It is great to see you. And Parrish, Ed, it is great to see you guys as well. I'm going to turn to my co-host on my side here. How are you doing, man?
Again, I flipped the screens just to mess you up. No, I am doing well. I'm changing my Sunday brunch order. I am eating some pancakes instead of French toast. I went to the good old Ricky's local, where we all know is a great place. One thing, though, in Canada, and this is a crime, do not ever. What was that sound?
We're baking a cake. We're baking a cake.
Oh, hey.
And it's not quite finished yet. Because I thought the show started at 1:30. So I'm like, no, we got plenty of time. That's why just like, no, it's 1 o'clock.
Sorry to interrupt. Throwback. Thanks for hopping in, and thank you for gifting a subscription on the Twitch side of things, wherever you guys might be tuned in. Thank you for doing so. But on Twitch specifically, remember you can always follow to get live notifications. And as Throwback did, gifting out some subs to a couple of friends there in the comments, earning some exclusive emotes, including the the nice little JP one that we got going in on there. So sorry, Ed, I don't mean to cut you off, but if people are supporting on that end of things, I always want to make sure we're doing right by them. But how are you, friend? And I'll even I'll give you the big screen so I can shut my trap for a sec.
Doing well, enjoying the 4th of July. We went to a rainy cookout yesterday. It's an experience doing the whole water slide cookout in the rain, but what you got to do when it's the 4th of July and you got everybody coming from everywhere. You just enjoy it and you have a good time. So
now you got yourself some opportunity to earn some favor here. Your thoughts on fireworks?
I love fireworks. I'm sorry. You're going to hate it. You've seen me in the chat. You know how I feel about fireworks.
I had to throw a shot in there. Of course I did. And Throwback, good to see you in the comments as well. How is your Sunday going? You're producing right now, but listening in. Hopefully you got the Wicked Crazy Pinfalls Championship over your shoulder there, my friend. And we got a surprise run-in. Zach, it is good to see you, friend. How are you doing on this Sunday morning?
I am doing great, friends. It's a beautiful day, so I thought I'd give a go at recording outside. My signal might be a little hit or miss, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, completely fair, my friend. It is good to see you. It is good to see, of course, everybody in. Sandy loving the Alicia Atut t-shirt. Of course, I do as well. But if you want to throw some support, as JJ did, to Love Wrestling specifically, we got shirts, we got stickers, we got fanny packs, and a whole lot more at lovewrestling.ca/shop. Parrish, I'm going to have to cut you out. Zach is joining us out of the goodness of his heart.
Guys.
So, of course, we say it is July 4th in the United States, obviously, as it was Canada Day, our national holiday a few days ago. It is the 4th of July America Day, as I'm just going to go ahead and call it, because why not? So we decided that we're going to kick the conversation off centered around the United States Championship, whether it's Harley Race, Ric Flair, John Cena, or, of course, America's greatest champion, Bret Hart. The United States Championship has a proud legacy dating back to about 1975, I believe, was the origination of the NWA's United States Championship, carrying through to WCW, moving over to WWE as part of the merger, and then in 2001, Edge beat Test in a United States versus Intercontinental United States Championship unification match. There's a friggin' handful for a Sunday morning. And then the current version of the championship revived in 2003 and carrying on to what we have today. So I thought we'd just kick her off there. Maybe some favorite runs, some memorable moments, some I don't know, maybe not so favorite championship runs, anything in between. And Zach, since you were the last to join us, friend, I'm going to give you the big screen because I'm just going to flat out admit I forgot my coffee and I want an excuse to go and get one. You got the big screen for the first couple of seconds here, friend. The United States Championship, general thoughts.
Yeah, well, first off, Spencer, kudos for the history lesson. You just really went through just about every bullet point you can cover. Well done, well researched, friend. The United States title, I mean, it's a solid mid-card title. I don't have any kind of personal attachment to it, being from north of the border, but it's led to some great championship moments. This is the one that I know everyone wants to pick, so I'm going to take advantage of going first and choosing it. But the John Cena, the United States Open Invitational run. I think what makes an angle successful is when it produces many quality matches, and the John Cena Open Invitational did just that, and in spades, absolutely.
Something interesting. Sorry, Spencer. I was going to say something interesting about that run. I did a little research on this one because it's not a title I know a ton about, especially pre-WWE. So I went back and looked. That title run, everybody thinks, it's one of the greatest title runs in its title's history. It's 35 days.
Really?
The title run that he has that ends with Alberto Del Rio is 35 days.
And I don't even want to, and I'm just going to throw it out here right now. There will be no further Mex America storyline mentions Alberto Del Rio from this point on as we chat about the United States Championship.
But hold on. There's two runs. It got broken up by Seth Rollins. He beat John Cena in title for title. Cena wins it back.
But was it the whole first run that he was doing the Open Challenge? Was it just the second?
Oh yeah, because he.
Oh, did he?
That.
Okay,
but,
I apologize.
Well, because again, and now we get to bring it back to Canada's greatest hero, Bret Hart, as we tend to do here on Love Wrestling, because that United States Open Championship was the reason that Sami Zayn was introduced to the main roster originally,
and then hurt himself.
And that. Yeah, hurt himself throwing his shoulder as part of his entrance, and then still tore it up with John Cena.
He did.
Don't forget Kevin Owens also appeared kind of with that as well. And then we had the infamous powerbombing John Cena while holding the NXT title, stepping on the US title, which I thought was a hell of a statement to introduce somebody to the main roster. And then he actually beat John Cena in that first match, non-title. But, I mean, John Cena, with the way that challenge was, the way he introduced people and gave them a real opportunity. I still remember the match he had with Cesaro, where Cesaro actually initially, that's when he started the suplex from out of the ring and just made a lot of guys look like $1 million. And I think in the modern time, that was probably one of the better runs or champions that you had. But I mean, if we're going back to the WCW days, I mean,
or as Joe's throwing in, the WCW days.
Well, I can speak English, so I don't have that. I could say WCW. Or if you're John Cena, W can't see W.
Hey, sorry to interrupt before you get started here, Parrish. Again, just want to thank Throwback for the cheer in there. Cena's U.S. champion was like Keith Lockhart conducting the Boston Pops on the 4th of July. Wow, that's nicely played. Parrish, back to you. Sorry, well done on your end, Throwback.
Well, if we're going to talk about WCW, like Nikita Kolarov, sorry, I'm eating pancakes. I got some stuck on my teeth. Yeah, but like if we go to WCW, I mean, that's kind of where the heart and soul of the U.S. title really was. Like there were some great champions, whether it's Nikita Kolarov or even like I think Steve Austin had a U.S. title run in WCW, and that really broke him out, I thought, as an individual guy. But then I don't know, like guys like Chris Jericho or WCW or U.S. champion. You saw a lot of great guys kind of come up from that cruiserweight division, and sometimes it was a television title, but a good chunk of the time was the U.S. title that kind of made them a mainstay on that individual platform. So yeah, I know like Goldberg won his first championship, and that was the U.S. title. So
yeah, and I've got a comment in there mentioning that as well. Sandy hopping in, MVP was a great U.S. champ. Don't disagree with you there at all. Kevin hopping in, Parrish, get that pancake in you, which I also don't disagree with. And then Throwback hopping in, there it is as well.
Wrestle next week, all right?
How far back do you want to go on U.S. champions? Goldberg, as he mentioned, was one. Sandy throwing a great comment in there as well, and a question I wanted to ask you guys all. What do you guys think of the new design of the U.S. title? Ed, we haven't started with you yet, so I'll start with you now.
I like the new U.S. title. I think it looks great. I'm all for redesigning vintage titles. There are some that I really love the old vintage look for, but the U.S. title, the WWE version, never really stuck with me. It was never really that great. WCW version was really, really good. I like that one. So the new one looks really well. I really like it.
Zach, agree? Disagree? Neutral?
Chaotic? Good? I've been affectionately referring to the new U.S. title as the America Fuck Yeah Championship because that, like, the second I saw it, I just thought Team America.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
That's what I'll say about the belt. Otherwise, I would rather it go back to something a little more traditional because I love the WCW design. I'm glad Parrish brought up the Goldberg run because it reminded me of the feud between DDP and Raven over the belt, and that was fantastic television as well. But we're on design. I shouldn't be jumping back to I shouldn't be jumping back.
No,
into
jump
old
around.
rivalries.
That's what Sunday Brunch is here for.
Chris Krasnick.
Well, that's my thoughts on the championship design. Fuck.
Parrish, I'll hop to you in a second. Few people hopping in. Tom, good morning, my friend. It's great to see you. New U.S. title is glorious and definitely designed for someone the size of Bobby Lashley. Ricochet would be swamped. Yeah, that's a very good point, to be quite honest with you. Lawrence hopping in. Canadians are ironically some of the best U.S. champs. I'll agree with you. I'll always take the opportunity to reference Bret Hart as far as that goes. And then Cena 03-04 reigns were very good. Even enjoyed the story of him being stripped for the title for attacking Angle. Great shout as well. And it brings me to one that I really enjoyed. And Joe, I do see your comment in there. I think it's a great one to transition off of. So we'll get to her in a sec. Something that I really liked that I think really wasn't capitalized on well at all was Dolph Ziggler winning the U.S. Championship and then giving it up. I thought there was a really great story to be told there. It's just they didn't capitalize on it. You know, they brought him back at 30 in what was a very underwhelming spot in the Royal Rumble. But I thought there would have been something great there. I don't know. That's just me.
I was gonna say it was good. I was really interested to see what happened next when Daniel Bryan said that the title was vacated when Ziggler just left at the ring and walked away. When we all thought he was, giving it up and going to do comedy full time. And oh look, he's number 30 in the Rumble. Okay. Oh, he's eliminated 20 seconds later. Great. That went nowhere.
All of the above, and excuse me as I sneeze my ass off. Allergies are killing me today.
Something funny about the U.S. title. The guy who's held it the longest, combined reigns, is somebody I never would have even thought of as holding it. It's Lex Luger.
See, and the irony there is it almost seems like that title would have been made by design for Lex Luger as the America's hero.
Yeah. Well, in WWE, yeah.
He would have had her for 30 years if he got a run with it in WWE.
Yeah. But it's an interesting list of the top 5. It's Lex Luger, it's Ric Flair, it's Greg Valentine, Blackjack Mulligan.
The Hammer!
Yeah, the Hammer, number 3 all time, 512 days.
Holy
and then
shit.
MVP at number 5.
MVP, great shout. Sandy, yeah. Even though people maybe don't look back on it as fondly or WWE could have capitalized more on it, in my opinion. Zack Ryder's U.S. title run was an awesome top face run for him. I completely agree, and I still think that there's much, much more they could have done with it. You know what I mean?
There's a lot they could have done with Zack Ryder, period.
Yeah,
that they didn't do.
Zack Ryder, and it has nothing to do with the U.S. Championship, but that guy's going to wrestle Nick Gage in what is the greatest storyline this year, and nobody can make an argument that will convince me otherwise, to be quite honest with you. Joe hopping in as well. I think they should put the U.S. title on Owens or Sammy and then briefly rename it the Canadian title. Yeah, the Saskatchewan International Hardcore Championship. Let's just get real is the official renamed title, I believe.
Lance Storm style.
Let's do right by Lance. Parrish, I'm going to just transition to you with an open floor, my friend. You've been quiet. You've been enjoying your pancakes.
I was waiting my turn for the design, and then you just went all sort of cutting off styles.
All right, here it is. I'll shut my mouth. Big screen for you.
No, because if anybody loves... I am the most anal guy when it comes to designs. I'm going to personally be that guy. What I love about that U.S. title design is the fact of the design. But every time that I see an eagle, I say, why isn't that on the WWE title? Because I have designed to think that the eagle needs to be on the WWE title. On top of that is, why does it look like the top of In Your House, just at a different way? I don't like the book or whatever that is. It just... give me a flat looking title and then we're fine. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. And I don't know. If you were to take that in the face on in a match, that would suck, by the way, because all the little, I was the CWC champion. That title sucked for so many reasons. I cut my own leg just by dropping it because it had so many edges and scrapes and digs on it. That's what I don't like about the U.S. title. It's it's a weapon. It truly is a weapon just because of how many edges are on the thing. But with that being said, I think a great American that was U.S. champion that we haven't talked about is the owner of the greatest arm drag in pro wrestling, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That guy was an absolute stud. And if you want to think of a guy that really never became a great world champion, but was always a great contender, he was an absolute amazing U.S. champion. And that's why I think a guy like Sami Zayn could follow suit in today's world.
I agree. We got lots of good questions in here, and we got a break here in a couple of minutes very quickly. So going to rip through these real quickly. But when we come back from break, we are going to answer the Goose's question. Hopping in. Dan, good to see you. Wasn't the Eagle on the WWE title when Stone Cold was champ? How's it going? I'll answer your second part first, friend. It is great. It is Sunday morning. I'm hanging out, chatting, wrestling with some friends. And I believe that the Winged Eagle was a 10-year long, but Brett had the Winged Eagle, Stone Cold had the Winged Eagle. How long did that one last? No, but that's just
they also had the Big Eagle too. They had the Big Eagle too for Stone Cold when they redesigned the title.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was like the
So that
night
must
after
have been
WrestleMania 14 that they brought that one out, and
It
then
was.
he
Right,
cut
right,
his
right.
chin, so that's why the smoking skull came to be.
Huh. Fun fact, are we making a Love Wrestling Canadian World Championship? Currently, it is only a Canadian championship as it only has been defended in Edmonton, Alberta. However, the hope is that I win it at Money in the Bank, or I should say retain it at Money in the Bank against that gentleman right there, Chris Parrish on the POS show. Because if I retain my championship, it'll be coming to SummerSlam with me, and it will be a full-fledged American-Canadian championship. Do have to throw out there as well. Dang it. It's a good problem to have when so many comments and questions are coming in. Joe hopping in as well. Currently, the IWGP Intercontinental title is the best looking belt in wrestling. I've really got a lot of time for the new IC title, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of time for that one, but I like the IC, the WWE Intercontinental right now.
NXT UK.
Oh, yeah. Great shout. Great shout. Thoughts on the NJPW US title? I admittedly don't know enough about New Japan to give this a solid grade, but when you look at the lineage of the guys who have carried it, whether it be Omega or Archer or Moxley, like, it at least seems to me they're doing right by it. Maybe someone else can add a little bit more.
What about Juice?
I do have me some time for some CJ Parker. Anybody else just got some comments on that?
There
that
is
are maybe
no
a little more
Planet
eloquent than mine.
It's a good looking title. I mean, it's not on my, titles now. None of the titles nowadays look really great, but WWE titles mostly, because all the WWE titles mostly look the same, with the exception of the IC and the US title. And then you get into NXT UK where they all kind of look the same, but they look different than the WWE stuff, so they actually look better.
Yeah,
I always thought the New Japan US title just was like a form of like what that when like guys like MVP won the US title, like that version. Like it kind of seemed like the same thing. It's like you did like a similar design that kind of made you recognize it was a New Japan title, and then we're just going to spread the American flag somewhere in just to say it's United States. It didn't really look complete.
Yeah. Zach, any final thoughts on this before we take a... Well, I guess three of you guys are going to take a quick break. I get to talk through it, damn it. I believe you're on mute.
Can you actually put me on full screen for a second? Because I'm looking in the background of my image on that balcony on the third floor.
The
I don't know if you see.
Number one with a bullet. I cannot see for shit.
It's a beautiful day for a neighbor, isn't it, friend? Mr. J, it is good to see you, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going, people?
It's good. You got in at a good time. We were just chatting the NJPW United States Championship. So, Zach, Mr. J, final thoughts before we go into some branding and promotional materials.
I don't know what we were talking about, so I don't care. Move on. I'm just on my balcony and being insulted from across the way. So,
well, sometimes you deserve it, Mr. J.
Sometimes, always, I would say, for being real. Don't make me come down there. Much like Spencer, I haven't really been so familiar with the NJPW US title that I can really speak intelligently on it. So I will refrain from this topic.
Not a problem, because it gives us an opportunity to give a little bit of thanks to everybody out there in the community. We're going to be back from our promotional stuff in about 45 seconds, but I would be remiss, and I know I speak for everybody here on the screen, would be remiss if we didn't say thank you guys once again for all of your support throughout our fundraising endeavor through the Trevor Project last month. Pretty incredibly, guys, we were able to raise over $2,000, $2,272 to be exact, towards the Trevor Project. And as we said a couple of times throughout the month, obviously, they are the nationwide leader in providing suicide intervention and crisis prevention resources to LGBTQIA+ youth. So if you guys still have the opportunity to continue to donate, please feel encouraged. Check out www.thetrevorproject.com for more information on that end. But thank you guys once again, because it means a lot. There's no real other way that I can put it for everybody here on the site, whether it's Zach, Parrish, Ed, Mr. J, or anybody else who took part in the stream or directly donated, anything in between. Just a huge thanks once again, you guys. Thank you. Now, as we get back to the conversation here, there was a great chat from Goose here, and I am just going to get back to the comments real quick. As I scroll up. Gosh, there's a lot to do here. I like this question a lot. Which championship holds more importance? The United States Championship or the Intercontinental Championship? Mr. J, we didn't see you for a bit, so I'm going to turn to you first on this one and put you on the spot a little bit.
Easy answer. I got to say the Intercontinental Championship, just because there's, for me, there's a lot more prestige behind it. I know that the U.S. title has history in other companies, but as far as like longevity and sticking and just being the quote unquote workhorse title, which is a term I hate with a passion, I got to give it to the Intercontinental, if I'm being totally honest, which I always am sometimes.
Then, now, forever. Ed, maybe. I'm going to turn to you next, my friend.
The IC title, absolutely. I mean, I grew up watching WWE product. I started watching WCW towards the, the end of the NWO run. So I was late to the US title party, so it's almost always going to be the IC title.
Parrish?
I think it all depends on where you grow up, because I have relatives in the Carolinas and they tell me the US title all the way, but I personally, because I followed WWE and WWF back in my entire time, it's Intercontinental like all day to me. So I think it really depends on where you grew up and what you got to see growing up. But I mean, personally, I think it's Intercontinental.
Zach, are you going to make it a clean sweep?
You know what? I gotta agree with Parrish. It's like, it's pretty subjective, like not to sit on the fence or anything, but like it's a matter of preference. I grew up with the Intercontinental Championship, so I too will also certainly go with the Intercontinental Championship. But honestly, a valid case can be made for the United States Championship. It's all like both have absolutely solid lineages, both have like amazing angles that they're attached to. But yeah, I'm gonna say Intercontinental because I like it better.
I think something that should be entered into this is the Lance Storm Canadian Championship, but I guess
that's always the most prestigious. Still. No, if we've got a number one for Intercontinental as far as prestige, we'll put the Saskatchewan International Hardcore Championship at the 0.5, because that is the tippy top of the professional wrestling totem pole. Lots of smart people in the comments as well, like our friends at Aaron Entertainment. IC title, agreeing with everyone here. Sandy, IC all the way. And for anybody tuned in on Twitch, I'm sorry if it glitched out. I had a bit of an internet spike and or downgrade. I don't know which way, but either way, thanks for continuing to stay tuned. Joe hops in as well. Historically, the Intercontinental title meant more, especially when it was used as the proving ground, to then step up to the World Championship. I completely agree. And then JJ as well. Right now, neither title really means that much. In the 90s, both WCW and WWF secondary titles meant so much. Some feuds, it was more important than the world titles. That's a great point, and I think that's a great starting place to jump off of. Parrish, I haven't turned to you first in a while, so I'll give you the floor. Do you agree with JJ? And if so, what can be done to, build their prestiges respectively back up?
Less titles? I mean, that would be nice. I mean, that's how you make the titles you have actually valuable. I mean, look what you're doing with the tag titles. They mean absolutely dog. You know what? Because like you just don't have a division for it. And if you don't have a division for something, like you can never build the top prize. With the mid card, it's so lackluster right now in the sense of how they're building it, because they can't even find guys to compete with their world champions, let alone who's going to be the top guy in the mid card thing. And the mid card champion, usually it's probably your best suited replacement for your next contender. So they're kind of building and booking themselves in a corner here just by doing that. So you really got to separate the two, and you got to have a long-term plan of who's going to be your staples in each division. When you have that, you actually have some breathing room to build something productive. But yeah, you can't have 500 titles on a show, or else it's too convoluted and nobody will care, because every match will be for a championship and not one will mean more than the other, because then it just goes to back, which match was your favorite? Therefore, that's my favorite title.
Zach, your turn.
Very well said, Parrish. I could not agree more. Like the whole title scene in the WWE is crowded, and that's like a byproduct of like all these separate brands and everything. Like, not to get off the road too much, but I always thought it'd be cool now that they have these many titles at WrestleMania, do a big group photo with every single champion. And like, that would be a big photo. That'd be a big class, so to speak. There's just too many championships and the titles don't mean as much. If they're going to do anything, I like Sandy's comment over on Twitch, longer title reigns. That's probably a good starting point. But I don't know. It's not an easy fix, whatever it is.
Edge, you're my next victim.
Meaningful stories that people can be invested in. It doesn't necessarily need to be longer reigns, but I was really getting into the Sheamus versus Ricochet versus Humberto Carrillo storyline, and then unfortunately Sheamus gets hurt and he needs to come out of action, and the title goes off the TV screen, and now we're waiting to see what happens next. But you keep the title on TV, you tell meaningful stories with it, the titles will mean something again. We always talk about how titles don't mean anything because there's so many. That being said, the New Japan titles, there's a title for almost everybody in the company. But
there is.
Like they all seemingly mean a lot, and they all seemingly have a great lineage, and that people care about them, whether it be the never open weight title, whether it be the juniors title, whether it be the never open man 6-man titles. Like, there's a title for everybody in that company, but they all really mean something, and you use them to build up the card, to build, one guy to go for this title and then move on to the next one and to move on to the next one.
Yeah. Mr. J, some closing thoughts on your end?
I don't know. I can't elaborate any more than anybody else has. It's just make it worth it. If it's a world title, I should really care the most about that. If it's the mid-card championship, make it worth watching. That's how you make titles matter. Make people that are, competitive, and I don't know, make wrestling kind of look like a sport again. Maybe that would work. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Because that's why New Japan, that's why they can have so many titles, and it's like, no, this is a legitimate sporting contest, because it's like, look at that. Those guys are fighting for that championship because it means something to them. It's not just like, here's another trophy.
Here you are. We can put this in your bio on WWE.com. JJ hopping in again. The belts used to be protected so much that every title used to really mean something, and now it's okay, this guy is the champ. Yep. Don't disagree. I don't know on this one, and I'm going to again leave this one to the floor, but personally, there seems to be this obsession with like how many titles people have, that they've gotten really away from unification matches. I truly can't remember the last unification match out there outside of the Intercontinental and NJPW unification match that they recently had. Other than that, it really seems like the current flavor of the week or month or whatever is how many belts. Becky 2 belts, Kenny 47 belts, Mysterio should have more belts. That's just a comment.
You mean Dominic Mysterio, right?
Oh, yeah, all the belts. And if you guys haven't had the opportunity yet, please make sure you check out lovewrestling.ca for the exclusive Custody of Dominic Mysterio coloring book, as lovingly provided by Zach Ralph in the corner. If Zach's got the time for a Dominic Mysterio coloring book, I've got all the time in the world for a Dominic Mysterio championship reign. I don't see them, though, and I especially don't see the NXT North American Championship being unified or anything like that. I think they would want to keep it at the NXT level. And again, much in the way that we talk about New Japan, I think NXT does a pretty great job with all of their championships. The only reason I take like the moment of hesitation there is I haven't been a huge fan of what they've done with the new women's tag team titles. I really have liked all the matches. I don't think they've done a bad job by any means, but I've still got the bias of, why are these championships here? They were presented quite literally as a consolation prize for losing a match, right? So
is that true?
That's pretty well, yeah. And so yeah.
Because everybody gets titles now. Yeah.
Well, there was the tag team championship match. It was Nia and Shayna versus Dakota and Raquel. Adam Pearce of all, and this is maybe what again frustrates me so much is Adam Pearce makes his first and I think to this point only NXT appearance. Brings a corrupt ref or a bunch of people to the ring or some dumb shit.
A Raw referee.
There we are, a Raw referee, and he counts a pinfall that shouldn't have happened. And then on the next NXT, Regal was just like, well, you didn't win the championships, but here are your championships. And I have so much love for all of those women. I even had a lot more time up until the Reginald stuff started. I had a lot of time for Nia and Shayna as a tag team, to be honest. And that was really the start of me being very soured on that end of things. Darnell, hello, and I'll pass the comments on to the rest of the friends on the screen sooner rather than later, but want to make sure we do right by the folks who are commenting if we're going to encourage them. Why aren't any of you guys wearing the amazing Love of Wrestling tee, says Sandy? Well, today I'm supporting a good friend and a great individual, and also because I have a lot of laundry in. There we go.
Yeah, that wins.
I was gonna pass it around, but we're not gonna do that. That was funny. Throwback Hoffman. Do you see Cross with Great American Bash on Tuesday? Sorry, do you see Cross versus Gargano happening? And does he drop the title to go to the main roster? If not, who is next for Cross? I hate to say it at this point. I don't care. After that,
are you a mind reader? You a mind reader? Because
you know what? I would love Johnny Gargano to whatever Johnny Gargano wants, give it to him at this point, and somehow, some way, please remove the NXT Championship from Killer Cross. I have not been a huge fan of all of this, really, all of this thing, and I would prefer that. Shit, he could drop it to Scarlett. I'd be fine with that. There's my move. Great American Bash. Scarlett screws Cross on Tuesday. There we go.
Remember, it's PG.
Moving on. Grow up, but well played. I'll turn to you next then. You jerk.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if you really wanted to take the title off Cross, and yes, it's a title, please have consistency with your wording. It's not a belt, it's a title. But if you really wanted to move the title off,
stooge.
No, it's traditional worker. But thank you for your input, Mr. No Big Screen. But
now everyone's got a screen.
Yeah. But you had this multi-man match that you could have took the title off him without him getting pinned, and you didn't do it. Now you're going to go to one of the guys who were in the match to do it, not to mention the smallest guy in the match, to beat the biggest monster in the division so far. I don't understand what the point would be. Like, I would love to see Johnny Gargano as champion sometimes, but at the same time, this is the perfect time to build a new star. So it's either, in my opinion, you either go Kyle O'Reilly or you go with the most realistic option that's not in your top 6, and it might actually be either a Pete Dunne or maybe it's an NXT UK guy. Or it's somebody that they drafted from when the draft comes.
JJ agreeing with you there as well. Gargano shouldn't beat Cross. Last week he got his ass beat along with the way, tried and failed to jump Cross from behind. Gargano right now is a mid-card comedy heel. You know what? I agree, but I also think that phrase really gets a negative connotation, and rightfully so, I guess, because 7 out of 10 times that's a very bad thing to be a mid-card comedy heel. Gargano's killing it. Gargano has, he is, when Cross said a couple of weeks ago, like you referenced with that match, Parrish, when he said a couple of weeks ago he had gone through the Mount Rushmore of NXT, I don't think he went through the entire Mount Rushmore of NXT, but if you don't have Johnny Gargano on that Mount Rushmore, I'd really love to hear why. Because I think it's pretty inarguable.
Was he not?
No, that's what I'm saying. But he really, him and Cole probably are the two.
Balor for me. Balor easily for me. He has to be in there.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, maybe
Those
that's where we'll take the conversation after we take our next break. Let's stew on that one for a bit. Let's keep touching on
and then CJ Parker. Yeah.
All righty. Mr. J, let's go to you. Thoughts on Killer Cross? You agreed with me off the hop, so I'll give you your piece.
Don't. It's not worth it. Honestly, I don't know enough at this point. I can't say I watch NXT as much as I should, so I will opt to just say meh instead. There you go.
All right. We'll move to Ed then.
It depends. I could see Gargano beating Cross and taking the title if they're bringing Cross up to the main roster come the draft. If they're not, they already have a backup plan set in place. This is going to be Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross.
I would have all the time in the world for Samoa Joe beating him.
That match is coming because every time Kross is in a segment, Joe is there. And so they're setting this up in the event that he doesn't get taken to the main roster and that Joe can get cleared. They're setting up a match where they can have Kross versus Joe.
Zach, that's a very nice place for me to give you a finishing sentence. It's all up to you, friend. Take that ball and run with it.
I mean, once again, NXT is not current day NXT is not something I'm very well versed in, but the chatter speaks for itself. Like, it's not just everyone here; it's everyone. Kross is just he's missing. Like, he's just a bit of a snooze for a better part of the people who are watching
what Lawrence
NXT.
quite literally said in the comments.
And like, it's a shame too, because like I watched a lot of his TNA content, and I thought that was like really cool stuff. Like, I thought he was doing like very dynamic work that like stood on its own 2 feet, but for whatever reason he's just either not going to that place in NXT or it's just not clicking in NXT, which I understand, because you do one thing on one show and the same thing on another. Sometimes like it's a square peg in a round hole. So yeah, that's I don't know, man.
I think you made a good point there, though, because quite literally up until the start of his NXT run, I loved some Killer Kross. Like, his run in MLW was absolutely fantastic too. So I had a lot of time, and it's been very, very disappointing.
I do want to say about the way, though, Johnny Gargano and the way. I like the bit about the comedy heels, because like my vibe that I get from them in the little exposure that I've got from them is they remind me of the Griswolds, National Lampoon. It's like this dysfunctional, loving family, but they just don't got it all together.
I freaking love it. Well played. Absolutely well played. Thank you for the cheers throwback. It is appreciated. I'm going to be topping up my coffee here in a sec. So we got about 45 seconds here that we're going to take a quick break here on Sunday Brunch. Watch me screw up as I interview Sledge.
I left everything, I don't know if you know the story of how I got into Ring of Honor.
I think it was Josh Woods, as you said in a previous interview. He and Taven helped you out, right?
No, actually.
Excellent. I love story time.
Yeah, no, you're way off. That's
nice.
Yeah, you must have read that on the Wikipedia page. I
was going to say cage matches led me astray before.
Cage matches? No. Well, I mean, I would happily text Taven and be like, hey, by the way, on an interview, you're
getting lots of credit.
You're the guy who got me my opportunity. So
well, then excellent. I'm happy to be proven wrong. It's story time with Sledge.
No, yeah, that's my podcast.
I got my research from the same place that Zach got. Chris Parrish was from Detroit, and that's the best that I've got for that one.
Yeah, you're doing some wonders for the biz, brother.
But you know what? It's always fine.
Who gives a shit?
It is fine to mess up as long as you are humble in defeat. And I was, as the Iron Sheik would like to say, I was humbled by that. However, it was a great conversation. I completely agree with you, JJ. What a name in Sledge, and what a guy, and what a story. He's about 7 years sober as of the time that we recorded. He is a rising star with Ring of Honor, and he actually quite literally signed with Ring of Honor 2 weeks prior to the entire world getting shut down. So getting to chat with him about his story through that, his mental health journey through all of it, and sobriety and everything in between is very cool. He got the name Sledge, JJ, because he used to be in a metal band, and his name in the metal band was the Hammer, which obviously he couldn't take because of Valentine. That's the second Greg the Hammer Valentine reference, which I think is 2 more than we've ever made on Sunday Brunch. But that's where he got the name from, is he had to change it. And he went with, well, I'm going to go with the other half of Sledgehammer. So there we are. My interview with Sledge will be coming out this Tuesday on Love Wrestling. And stick around for the rest of the show. We got lots of great stuff coming up. But like we said before we closed her out, as the conversation tends to do, we rambled along. We started this conversation on the WWE United States Championship, and we will be closing it with a brief 10-minute discussion on NXT Mount Rushmores, because that's the logical conclusion point for any WWE championships, right? So is there anybody, first and foremost, who would like to volunteer to be put on the spot with this one?
I want to say one thing. We can't put non-wrestlers. This is only wrestlers. Let's do that.
Regal, I think, would be, Regal would be like indisputably on there. Throwback, thank you for the raid, friends. It's appreciated. I completely agree, but I do think that we need to make like a special 5th head for William Regal then, just as like an honorary member.
I'll go first then. Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Asuka.
Asuka over Bayley.
Yeah, longest reigning champ, undefeated.
See, I've got a lot of time for that one. I really do. I'd have to go with Bayley. I think Bayley's indisputably NXT, and I'm having a hard time not putting Sami Zayn on there. Like, he was literally named the heart and soul of NXT in its fledgling days, and I don't think that can be discounted.
Until Gargano came, though. That's kind of where, like, if I was to, like, that's the thing for me. There were people before them. Like, there was the Seth Rollins, maybe before Adam Cole. There was the Bayley before Asuka, but I think the 4 I personally named just overthrew them. And that's how I got to my 4.
I wouldn't really put Rollins in Cole's category.
No, but Rollins was the first.
I think
it's the same thing of why you put Hogan there, because he's the guy that, like, pretty much put it on the map, right? Like, Rollins was your first guy to staple the NXT flag, right? But he wasn't the best, but he was the first. And the first always has a little bit of it's always there. Like, you can never take that away from him.
I don't even think Bayley was the first, though. You could make an argument for all of the 4 horsewomen objectively to be on the NXT Mount Rushmore, I suppose. But yeah, I really think Bayley's the only one. Anyone else?
I got one. It's going to be an interesting one. Asuka, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, and Neville. You can't forget how important Neville was to the beginning of NXT.
That's a real fair point. Who is your third, though?
Nakamura.
Okay.
Because he had the Sami Zayn.
The nicest. Okay, you're wrong. But
I would personally put Joe in there before Nakamura.
I mean, like I said, I that's the one I go back and forth on. Like, the other 3 I'm locked in on. The other that 4th one is, it could be Zayn, it could be Samoa Joe, it could be KO, it could be Tommaso Ciampa, it could be any of them.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just watching here. I think Zach's trying to take a photo,
There's
and Mr. J was watching him try to take the photo.
Attention. Pay no attention. There will be a lawsuit. Madam M is writing the paperwork right now. You will be evicted, sir. You will be evicted.
I was taking a picture over into the clearing.
You want to start? I will come down there. I will come down there.
So we got our own peeping Zach right here. I just wanted to point that one out.
Exactly.
Mr. J is right there. Mr. J is right there. I'm taking a picture of the clearing.
Zachy.
Collecting Z's.
Mr. J, can you even confirm? Can you even confirm that there's a clearing over there?
It's the clouds.
Legally, I have to check with my counsel, and they are not available at the moment, so I will not confirm or deny. So,
well, that's all right.
See, this is augmented reality. This cannot be confirmed. I don't know what's happening. Shaky cam. This is not Blair Witch Project. This is ridiculous.
I was just gonna say
this is slander.
Oh my! Too bad he doesn't have multiple cameras so that Kevin Dunn can be happy and cut 17 times in one shot.
His teeth are cutting. Literally. Actually, it's what's really.
It's getting to the point. It's getting to the point that I don't know how professional wrestling, but especially WWE, can air without some sort of like seizure warning or some sort of like trigger warning, quite literally before it. Like
Nauseous.
people are likely getting sick on that. It's horrible. Horrible. Great shout here from Lawrence. We got Asuka. We got Kevin Owens. We got 5 on this Mount Rushmore, but we'll go with it. Asuka, Kevin Owens, Bayley, Gargano, Tyler Breeze. And I got a lot of time for Tyler Breeze on there.
Mm-hmm.
Only man to wrestle Jushin Thunder Liger under the WWE banner, folks.
That was the first NXT match I ever saw. And I was like, this is worth watching. And
Talk
it
about
was.
Kicking off on a high note, hey?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was.
I mean,
JJ hopping back in as well. Bayley, Sasha, Sammy, and Johnny. I don't know if I'd put Sasha on mine. I really don't.
I can't.
See, here's my defense to why I don't put the 4 horsewomen on here. I honestly thought they all reached their peaks, and other than Bayley, because Bayley spent the most time, Bayley really got a footprint in NXT, while the others really became true stars on Raw or SmackDown. Like I thought Charlotte became her own when she won the Divas title. That became the new Raw Women's Champion, and then
Charlotte and Becky, I would 100% agree.
Yeah, I think Sasha was in that transitional period where she's just finding herself. She had that amazing feud with Bayley, that amazing match, and then all of a sudden she's out there. So she never really got that. Okay, I did amazing things, and then stayed and did more amazing things. Bayley did. Then it was Asuka, and Asuka was the real first person I thought was an actual like transport of the women's division. She was the first torchbearer when she passed it on to Ember Moon, who then went, and that was kind of where I'm going.
See, I would agree if it wasn't for Asuka relinquishing the NXT title. Like, it's a weird one because in the long run, it's the right decision. But for me, it also, if we're talking strictly NXT, impacted her NXT run for me. Yeah, so I don't know. Because I even think that like Bayley losing to Asuka was such an integral part of her character at that point too. And that was such a well-told story between her and Asuka, in the same way that she finally overcame Sasha Banks. She couldn't overcome Asuka. I maybe again, it'll always come down to personal tastes on things. I just think that like Bayley's story in NXT started from day one that she was in NXT. And she reached the peak. She not valleyed, but she had your, I guess, traditional NXT run. You're built up. You win the title, defend, lose it, out. And I think it was just so perfectly told throughout it that I have Bayley as the greatest woman in NXT history. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
The one thing I will also touch on this, when WWE signed Asuka, that's really where you saw the transformation of WWE using a lot of Japanese women, because she was that big star in Stardom that they got, right? So because of that, she was the one who broke the wall into there. So if you didn't get Asuka, you may have not gotten your Kairi Sanes. You may not have gotten your Io Shirai.
And that's
you may have not even have branched out to NXT UK without some of these people. So that's why I go to the impact of NXT, and you look at where it has, nobody I think broke the mold the most universally for the women more than Asuka.
Completely fair. Anybody else got some points to build off of there? Because we got some good comments I want to shout out as well. I've also got my thoughts, but I've talked a lot as I tend to do. So anyone else can feel free to hop on it. Otherwise, JJ's got some great points in the comments as well. Neat. Always get to shout out a friend, whether it's the ones on screen or in the comments. Bayley versus Sasha at Brooklyn was a big turning point in how WWE perceives women's wrestling. NXT has then got it right 90% of the time and continues to make women's wrestling matter. I don't think I could have said it any better. I do agree with you. And I think that might be why, and Parrish, you alluded to it when we kicked this whole thing off, is that Asuka might be, not even might be. Asuka could be perceived as better because she had Bailey to build off of in NXT. And I think for me, Bailey being that foundation is incredibly important to a Mount Rushmore, and that's why I'll put her on there, if that makes sense.
If I wasn't so inclined to put 3 men on there, I would put Bailey on there. But it's because, and I don't want this being taken the wrong way, but even in NXT, even though we saw women wrestling probably at the highest peak it's ever been under the WWE banner that didn't include the names of Trish Stratus, Lita, Mickie James, Molly Holly, Victoria.
Like Hall of Famers,
because that was one of the greatest dynamics of women in WWE until our generation now. This has been a predominant men's division up until that time. So the amount of men compared to the amount of women is just a greater pool. So that's why I put 3.
Oh, yeah. I don't disagree with you at all, man. Like, again, we've all brought up, I would say, 15 names roughly total, and you can make a convincing argument for pretty well all 15 of them.
I was going to say, there's one more name we forgot. I was going to say, there's one more name we forgot that I just, in thinking about NXT UK, brought it back up. How can we forget Walter?
Oh, yeah. How have we not, because the one I was going to bring up as well, how have we not even brought up Tommaso Ciampa as a talking point? Even for me personally, I don't know if he'd be on the top 4, but I also think if you were to give me a debate or whatever, frickin' Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, I bet you I could do one. I bet you I could do a pretty convincing job of making the case for Tommaso Ciampa being on there. And realistically, if it wasn't for his injuries, I think he would be on there, and it sucks because, again, his injuries have been so fundamental to the story he's told in NXT. Again, if that makes any sense. Like, his recovery from the neck injury coming out on their first live NXT was such a massive moment for him, right? His heel turn on Gargano, massive. Like, he's, again, been so fundamental that he should at least be mentioned, whether or not I'm going to put him on my Mount Rushmore or not. Darnell, great shout as well. Pete Dunne is a bit underrated as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. It's insane. Like, you look at the lineage of the NXT UK Championship, had 3 champions. Yep. 3, and that brand's been around for the better part of 5 years now.
Well, and it's had 4 women's champions too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Satomura's she's the 4th.
And like was it 5 tag champs?
You'd admittedly know a little bit better than I would.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell.
A guess.
Well, I admittedly, and it's just my own bias, I suppose. You just pay a little more attention to the single stuff.
One name I also wanted to throw out, sorry, before we go off, I just wanted to throw this one out there. We saw Zelina Vega, who came back to SmackDown, and thank you, WWE, for correcting her wrong on there. I think that's a universal statement. Mm-hmm. But because of that, I see a bridge between WWE and Aleister Black possibly being mended here. I think this is a big one here. What if Aleister Black is the guy to dethrone Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship?
That's a shout.
I think it'd be real neat. Zach, you take the ball.
I think we have to consider why both Zelina and Aleister were released, though. Zelina was released due to contention with The Office. Aleister was released due to budget cuts. And, of course, there's precedent for bringing people who were cut from budget cuts back. We've seen that as recently as Samoa Joe and early back as Drake Maverick. But I don't know. I don't know if the bridge is that close as and I've seen other people say this as well, Parrish. Like, I've seen people say that very point that you're saying right now. I'm just not convinced just yet.
I just think it's too worried because the one thing we heard about Aleister Black is that there were people that did not understand why people really went to bat for bringing him back.
Yeah,
we heard out of the grapevines that Triple H fought and made sure Samoa Joe came back. I think Triple H doesn't get the credit he deserves when we hear about these moves, and I think it's amazing. I think Vince McMahon gets pop. That should be clipped, by the way. Clip that. Please clip that. That was funny.
You don't clip any of my other stuff, so why not? Oh, shots fired.
I clipped the thing from last week.
I ask you for timestamps.
Begrudging snaps, but gosh.
Maybe this is why you heat magnet.
Any attention is
Read
good
the fine
attention.
print and be nice, bro.
Learn to read. All right, learn to read because your show is reactions, not reading. So
It's true, and actually, I did quite enjoy our first ever live poetry reading of Word Slam, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But
I just saw finishing moves that can't hurt a fly, and I'm going to actually throw yours in there, Jay.
infantile and pathetic, as usual, Parrish. Well done.
Oh,
this is my favorite part of the show. When it
You got to know your audience, bro.
When it hits the fan, I love the show. Parrish, I am going to give Mr. J the big screen. Mr. J.
Why?
I don't know.
Once. Well, children, let me tell you a story. I don't like this company, but they let me talk. So go listen to Poetry of a Promo. Go watch Word Slam. They're great. It's much better than anything Parrish is a part of. I will say that.
I will advocate for the POS show being, quope,
only
good.
because you're on it.
Wilson by side, uncovered. Yes.
Pretty good. I didn't politic this for changing the world here, my friend. I gave pretty good for the reason that I did. That's me.
Is that a self-portrait?
No, that's who we all are compared to Jay.
All right, we're going to bring this one back on track. We've got we're already going to be going overtime by the time I finish this sentence. So what I'm going to do is bring up a pretty neat graphic here. Zach, we are going to move to you following. We're going to go around. We're going to highlight the content we've got coming up. We're going to wrap it up. And then we're tentatively going to raid Sledge because he's been streaming for about an hour. Usually he goes about an hour on Coffees with Sledge, but if he's still going in the next 5 minutes, we'll go say hi to my guest this week on Spencer Love Interviews. So let's talk about the neat things we've got coming your way. As Mr. J was saying, we've got Poetry of a Promo coming out for its bi-weekly return this Monday. He's going to be chatting about AJ Lee. We've also got Lita coming up on Josh's latest edition of The Legacy of. This Tuesday, we've got a full slate for you.
Did we lose him?
So there's a full slate this week. Anybody else want to pick up where you left off?
Well, we got
my Wi-Fi.
There we go.
Sorry, guys, the Wi-Fi cut out. I apologize. We've got a full slate. Lita, AJ Lee coming up tomorrow on The Legacy of and Poetry of a Promo. We've got Sledge and Power Out coming up this Tuesday. We've also got a new series coming your way at 1:30 Mountain Time, Inspired. That's going to be hosted by Cam Steven, talking about individuals who have inspired him and his guests in professional wrestling. Wednesday, Turnbuckle Rewind's talking about the Gimmick Battle Royal from WrestleMania X7. Between Two Beards and the War Report return this Thursday. Saturday, we've got Blowing Off Stream, and then Sunday, we'll be back with another edition of Sunday Brunch, and we're also going to be hanging out with the Goose Call. The Canadian Goose going to have another comedy, another wacky, wild, and wonderful match from the world of professional wrestling live here on Twitch. Zach, like I said, I'm going to turn to you first, my friend. What do you got coming up? Give us a little bit of the specifics, and then, of course, where people can find you. Ed, be prepped. You're coming up next.
NWA Power. We always react to it a few hours later after the other black and gold brand. I'm just talking about NWA, man. Relax. It's not that funny. NWA Power. We cover it on Power Out, 10 o'clock Eastern, right after NXT. I don't have a guest for this week. I always have a revolving guest co-host. Lawrence, I see her in the chat. So if you're catching NXT, reach out to me. Maybe we can work something out. You can, of course, follow me on social media at Smarkmouth on Twitter, at smark.mouth on Instagram. And before we go, Spencer, we should mention that we just launched a TikTok for Love Wrestling. You can follow at Love Wrestling CA on TikTok now. We've got videos. We've got lulls. You should be a part of it. There's even a dance video. I have to say.
That is the most convincing argument we can possibly give. Ed, the screen's yours, friend. Where can we find you? How can we do so? And when can we see you next?
You can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me in most of the stream chats here, even on shows that I don't have an ability to watch, like Power Out. You can also find me moderating for Tom Collihue at twitch.tv/Tom Collihue. And then you can find me whenever I can do a React show on here.
Excellent. We're going to you next, Mr. J.
Well, you can find me right here on lovewrestling.ca, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, all that garbage that I don't really pay attention to, at Poetry of a Promo, at me. I don't care. I occasionally check them. Kayla, my useless assistant, who I think is about to be fired, I'm not sure, checks that type of stuff. So maybe I'll see your comment. Maybe I won't. But you can also see all of my content on lovewrestling.ca. That's Poetry of a Promo for the uneducated simpletons like Parrish on this chat right now. Poetry of a Promo.
I'm we should have set this up differently. Parrish, you've got the big screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to follow me, where all the women who work for me actually are appreciated, because I mean, I'm not Jay. You can follow me on my
That
Twitter.
would be Mr. J. Learn some respect.
Yeah, well, I'll call you Mr.
Everybody.
I'll call you Mr. when you deserve it. You can follow me at Twitter at Chris Parrish, at Instagram at Chris.Parrish. You can actually follow me on Twitch at the Chris Parrish. You can follow all the good stuff at lovewrestling.ca. You can go to lovewrestling.ca/shop to buy everything that is Love Wrestling t-shirts, Sunday Brunch mugs, the stickers, and now the fanny packs. Make sure you subscribe to our TikTok, our Twitch, our YouTube, and everything else where you can follow all our great shows, except for Poetry of the Promo, because Mr. J smells like peanut butter and catfish.
Pretty good smell, and I can't really speak to catfish. I'm not a fish fan.
And we've never met. How would you know?
There are three very fair points there. I tend to agree with all of those. But once again, friends, thank you for tuning in this Sunday morning, as every Sunday morning you guys choose to here on Love Wrestling. It is always, always, always appreciated that when there's so much wrestling content out there, when there are so many streams and talk shows and everything galore, that you guys take your time and spend it with us right here on Love Wrestling CA. You guys see the social media scrolling across the bottom, and for any platforms that might not be there, like Zach mentioned, TikTok, if you want to hop on Podbean, if you want to support us anywhere and everywhere, just look up Love Wrestling CA, and if we are there, that will be the name you can find us under. I almost guarantee it, unless I messed up somewhere and haven't rectified that situation quite yet. Wherever you guys may be watching, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, please feel free to give us a like, a share, a follow, a subscription, donation. Some mitts, it gets cold up here in the Great White North, but bits are what I was aiming for there. So if you want to support us any way that you guys possibly can, your watch hour, tuning in, anything in between, commenting is always appreciated. And if you want to go a little bit above and beyond and support any of the great content creators you see here on screen, it is never obligatory, but always encouraged. Thank you guys once again for tuning in here on Love Wrestling. As mentioned, in the next couple of seconds, as my friends here and I on screen continue to vamp, we're going to be raiding our friend Sledge. That is Sledge805 here on Twitch. So follow us along. We're playing some video games. We're chatting. We're doing some great things with a metalhead, a wrestler, a Ring of Honor star, and most importantly, a great individual. So speaking for Zach, speaking for Parrish, speaking for Mr. J, speaking for Ed, and speaking for myself as I continue again to vamp, I've been Spencer Love. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.